Hello, folks. This is Charlie, and this is episode 6. And with me is James. Say hello, James. Hello. And today we're going to be talking about a great film, uh, Near Dark. This is a film that came out in 1987. Hope you can all see it here. Now, this film, we're getting James out of the picture now. Anyway, this is a good film. I enjoyed it. If you like The Lost Boys, you'll probably like this. Directed by Catherine Bigelow, who did Point Break and who did the more recent film Hurt Locker, which is, I believe, got some acknowledgement by the Academy Awards. Bill Paxton hams it up pretty well, and another notable individual is Tim Thomerson. Excuse me, plays kind of the lead creepster. And I'm going to have James say a few words.
Yes, been digesting this movie since having watched it, and it does bear comparison to Lost Boys. I think Lost Boys had a little bit more of humor elements to it, more intentional humor.
I agree.
This is actually not one of those many movies that's unintentionally funny. Although there are a few Bill Paxton moments where if you look at his face, it's hard not to bust up laughing, even though he's being very serious and evil pretty much all the time. This is really kind of a more serious take on the whole uh, teen vampire movie
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And it has its own rules, which break the rules of some other vampire movies. But one thing I was really thinking about this movie is that it was almost like vampirism was a metaphor for addiction. And I think other vampire movies might go there too, but it really stood out to me in this movie because you watch Near Dark, and if you imagine it with all the vampire elements removed, take out all the supernatural stuff, you still have a story about a guy getting interested in a girl, and because of her, he falls in with some really nasty people. And if you replaced the group of vampires with some sort of violent gang, and if you replaced the blood drinking with or the killing people to drink their blood with some other sort of crime to support this addiction. It could be a drug addiction would still work in the context of the story, or it didn't even have to be a drug addiction. It could be just like a sexual addiction to this girl. You could have taken away all the vampires and it still would have been a really interesting story. And many of the performances could have gone the same way. You just would have had different motivations. So in that sense, it might sound like I'm saying that the vampirism is sort of a gimmick in this, and I don't know if that's what I'm saying.
Well, that did not occur to me initially, but I think you're right on the money on that. I think it is a metaphor for addiction. I think a lot of these filmmakers do they have their films and they have metaphors for something else. Like we talked about Night of the Living Dead having being metaphor for what was that, sort of a certain political metaphors.
Yeah. The original Night of the Living Dead.
And I actually was watching an interview with George Romero where he talks about how I think the more recent one, Land of the Dead, was a metaphor for homelessness and AIDS, and I didn't see that, but I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's in there somewhere. But I think that's a good point you bring up. I was a little oblivious to that until now, but that was a good one. Um, I wanted to mention briefly that the production value is better than a lot of films of this ilk.
Yes.
It definitely had a little bit more respect to style and
right.
The
cheese factor is very low in this movie, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. When you think of let's talk about Return of the Living Dead real quick in comparison to this. That just came into my head. That had a higher cheese factor. Enjoyable film as well. This, as you said earlier, unintentionally funny, not really. Maybe on a rare occasion with Paxton. Paxton, he can,
Could you do an impression of him?
Let's see, how did that work? Yeah, well, he grabs a guy, and in one of the initial scenes, our hero is grabbed by Paxton, and Paxton with a southern accent goes, "Howdy, how you doing? I'm gonna take your head off your shoulders." Yeah, and then he basically berates him throughout the entire film, even when he's buddies with him or family. He makes other snide comments, and I recommend the movie just for Paxton alone.
Yeah, he was highly entertaining.
Let's see. What else can we say about this film?
Can we spoil the movie?
Yeah. Okay. Well, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Stop now if you care about the ending.
Blood transfusions cure vampirism.
Yes. All the I guess conveniently the hero's dad is a doctor.
A veterinarian. Yeah.
Veterinarian. And I guess he worked in a blood bank too because he knew how to do that pretty well. But he did a transfusion and made our hero back to non-vampire, and his girlfriend back to non-vampire.
Oh, who would have known? Who would have known that it would be that easy?
Think how many people's lives of wretched dismemberment and other things could have been averted if they knew a little bit about blood transfusions.
Although some of those characters, they were pretty lousy people. I think you turn them back into humans, they wouldn't have been any better. I mean, the girl, the protagonist, or the girl, they were nice people even though they were vampires.
Yeah, I think you're right. Our main villains, not including the guy and the girlfriend, were basically social reprobates with or without their vampirism. I concur.
Yeah. Well, and in conclusion, exploding children.
Yeah, they violated that rule. You usually don't kill children in movies. You especially don't explode them. Like almost spontaneously combust and explode.
Violently explode them after long periods of painful burning. But anyway, don't let that deter you if you're thinking of watching it, because it actually makes a lot of sense in the context of the film.
It does. They go by a certain rules. As you said, they don't necessarily coincide with other vampire rules. They kind of have their own.
Yeah.
Every director has their own take.
Every vampire story has its own right to make up its own vampire.
Anyway, I believe we said it all for the time being. We're gonna bid you adieu until next time.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.